Thank you, Jen. Welcome, gang. I'll be flying fast through a lot of topics. Now, if you've reached this point, now we are recording this, so you may see this live, you might see this on recording. You've already seen the ERA website, expensereduction.com, and the associated franchise opportunity website, findextraprofit.com, which is also available through expensereduction.com. So you've seen our website. You've no doubt seen a little two-page overview of the model. So this should not be your first introduction, because we're going to go a bit deeper than normal. I've spoken with over 1,000 people about this opportunity. I know the questions you're going to ask. You've already got them on your mind now. Hopefully I'll address them during this call. Now, I'm going to go fast, so feel free to pause this. If you're watching the recording, you can rewind, and you may want to watch it twice because we're going to cover a lot. Also, if you've got any questions, you can reach over to the right side of the page and type in your questions, and at the end, we've got franchisees on the call today that are going to share and going to help us answer those questions for you live on this call. I'm also going to record that, and we'll be able to share that with you later too. So let's fly through it. We're the franchise for executives. You don't have to be, people define executive differently. Business savvy individuals who want to own their destiny and own their own business. So I've been in franchising about 15 years. I'm a certified franchise executive. This is the best low investment home-based service franchise I've ever seen. That's why I'm here. So our tagline, the global specialist in cost optimization, supplier management, and supply chain consulting. It's a mouthful. Trust me, you don't have to be a world-class expert in any of those categories or any of that terminology to do very well in ERA. You'll learn a lot through this. So we provide the ideal ownership opportunity for successful executives and business-savvy individuals comfortable speaking to the C-suite, because that's our client, and desiring an optimal work-life balance. I hear that every day and virtually every hour, work-life balance, with really unlimited residual income potential. So if that's you, let's keep listening. We were living not only in a different era, but a different ERA. Decades ago, it was more products. Then products and services came into play. Customer-centric focus came into play. And today, it's about relationships. ERA could not be more positioned for that play. Relationship-centric business all day long. Relationships with clients, long-term relationships with other franchisees, and long-term relationships with your support team here at corporate. Now, some of the hot trends that ERA is taking advantage of and really at the center of, the rapid growth in the contingency fee model. Especially in the younger generations, the millennials, that's what they live by. I'll pay for it when I see the results. And many of us boomers and Gen Xers have the same attitude. Tired of paying for things that I don't get results. So our model, which we've had for 25 years, focused on a contingency, a no risk for the client, is absolutely the ultimate model, because when you're good at it, when you're good at what you do, contingency will allow you to make a lot more money, and everybody will be happier, and certainly you get more clients. Also, a hot trend is just the outsourcing trends, being able to outsource various functions of businesses. Think about 20 years, 30 years ago, who outsourced HR? Now, who doesn't? Unless you're a Fortune 500 or maybe 1,000. So outsourcing is a huge trend, and again, we're at the center of that opportunity. We are not this screen, though, which I thought was just funny. Consulting, if you're not a part of the solution, there's good money to be made in prolonging the problem. Not our model at all, but had some fun with that slide anyway. We've found that every organization has entrepreneurial scope. They have opportunity. They want to grow. They want to put more money to the bottom line. They want to get better. We allow them and help them to do that. Our tagline here, find extra profit, and that's even my website, findextraprofit.com, with a franchise opportunity. Again, the franchise for executives is how we position ourselves. Franchising is the avenue we give you to take advantage of that positioning. Not going to read every slide to you. We're going to go through a ton of them. And so you'll see a lot of information today, and again, you can pause this. Franchising, what is it? Basically, it's the best of both worlds. You get to own it, and you get to have a proven system with support, and in our case, a global brand behind you. So the best of both worlds. No one's micromanaging you. There's none of the politics, the infighting, the glass ceilings, the mandatory travel, the clocking in and clocking out. It's not here. You get to own your practice. That can be good news. It can maybe be bad news. Hopefully, if you're the right person, it's very good news. So if you're ready for a new start, so many folks I talk to day in, day out are absolutely ready. They've got options. Perhaps you have options. You might be looking at a career just continuing in a W-2 role, an employee role. Or you want to expand it and own it and have a bigger opportunity. Or maybe you're looking at both. So regardless, I'm here to help get you clarity on the model. So it's a people business. You will see that throughout this next 30 minutes. People, people, people. It's franchisees working with franchisees, consultants partnering with consultants. Here are some consultants around the country and around the globe. Quick snapshot of our vision, mission, values, and guarantee. You can read that when you have time. But ERA, we know where we're going. We're the best in the world at what we do. I'm not going to skip over this slide because to me it is extremely important to understand the culture. This is a huge decision on your part. Sort of like a marriage. I mean, you're going to be. This is what you're going to do with the majority of your day for the next decade or two or three. So. Core values, what is this organization about? You can see it really in a nutshell on the screen. Start at the bottom. Entrepreneurial spirit. Well, we're franchising. Entrepreneurial spirit is a core part of that. But there's a lot of franchisors who are so big and have gone that corporate route where they control every little minutia of the business. That is not us. We truly, throughout the entire organization, from corporate to the field staff to franchisee, everybody has that do it better entrepreneurial culture. And it goes into respectful, high EQ, no drama. You probably already figured out we don't have any 22-year-olds franchisees. Our franchisees are mature. They have a high EQ, as I call it, emotional quotient. There's not drama in this organization. That's why we left the corporate world, the slavery of a job, because we're not dealing with that drama. It's a respectful, high EQ organization. But fun. You hear consulting, you hear supply chain. It's still fun because entrepreneurs have fun. We're not into the cookie cutter box. Lots of fun. You'll see that throughout this presentation today. Next, it's about results. You're not clocking in and out. To get results on your timeline, working with the client and doing what it takes to help them succeed. You really do make a difference. So many candidates I speak with are looking to make a difference. They're tired of not mattering. With ERA, you can absolutely make a difference in companies, in organizations, and ultimately in lives of people that work there. And lastly, relationships. So committed to the organization as a whole, but committed to each individual franchisee, treating them with respect, back to the no drama, but relationship driven throughout. I was a franchisor myself for 8 years. I had over 8 years. I've consulted with a couple dozen organizations in that low investment, home-based service franchise space, and I just have never seen an organization that's so collaborative, so tight-knit, so constantly working together. A lot of organizations, franchises especially, you're a bit on an island. You feel a little bit alone at times, and you might even go weeks or months without ever really talking to another franchisee. With this organization, it likely won't be a day that you go without talking to other franchise partners, other consultants, constantly collaborating, working together for clients' better good. Okay, so a quick snapshot of the global organization. 700 consultants globally. We're in over 25 countries globally and been around over 25 years. Let's bring it a little closer to home. About 170 franchise partners across North America, vast majority in the U.S. Handful in Canada, handful or two in Mexico, everybody else in the U.S. Our global support center is over in Kent, England, but we're able to we don't have to rely on them for anything. Everything is done here in North America out of the Dallas Franchisee Support Center. So North American Support Center. About 18,000 projects. It's a very conservative number. And then thousands of clients, billions, approximately $1 billion, and again, very conservative number saved for our clients. So we know what we're doing. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. It's a global opportunity, as you just saw. More franchisees, more fun events, awards, recognitions, and lots of fun. I love this quote by Robert Kiyosaki. I met him a while back. The richest people in the world look for and build networks. Everyone else looks for a job, looks for work. So these next 3 screens might be the most important to understanding the model. These are really a duplication of that 2-page overview you saw. But it's good to understand at a high level the model. So office from anywhere. Most office from home, but you can office from Starbucks, get your own office, however you want to arrange that. You own your practice. Next, low investment. This is not a 7-figure investment. This is, in the U.S., it's $59.9. It's a low investment. $49.9 in Mexico, because some differences there. No brick and mortar, no inventory, not even any employees required. You can scale it, you can leverage it and build that if you'd like, but you can also keep it just you and do extremely well if that's your model. Next, it's a pro-growth model. You'll see that throughout. The territories are extremely open in how they work, and so you're not restricted to this little tiny geography. Next, it's proven and stable. I've already covered that. $1 billion in savings. My gosh, 25 plus years, 25 plus countries, 700 consultants. Recession resistant. You know, regardless of the economy, organizations of all types want to put more money to their bottom line. They want to make more revenue. We allow them, we help them to do that. And it's extremely untapped market. You hear how huge we are and how established we are, and yet the vast majority of CFOs, the vast majority of folks have never even heard of ERA. So very, very untapped market. Next, what is that opportunity? So we just talked about the overall opportunity. Let's go a little deeper. Your focus. This is not you have to do the same thing every day. This is really flexible to your highest level activities. What are you best at? What do you enjoy? What's going to make you the most money? That's what you want to focus on. So you can have a business development focus. I call it client acquisition focus. You can have the other primary focus is category specialist. You could be that analyst that you see in our title that finds the savings for the client. And then there's opportunity in the middle to manage the client, manage that, oversee the projects and the relationships. You could be one person doing all three at times. You could have a complete 100% client acquisition focus. Perhaps you want to focus on client acquisition, but you also want to own that ongoing relationship, be the face of the organization ongoing for your clients. Absolutely, you can do that. Perhaps you really are a category specialist. You built your career in an expense category. Not saying procurement, I'm saying in an expense category. You know that world inside and out. Then you could focus almost all your efforts there. Still want to get a client. Everybody in this organization is client focused, client acquisition focused to a point. But perhaps you're spending 80–90% of your time finding savings for clients that other people have acquired. Wherever you might fit in that organization, I'll help you figure that out, but you'll know better than I will pretty quickly where your sweet spot is in your focus. Next, long-term relationships. Again, mentioned that already, with the client for long-term, with your other franchisees for long-term, with the support staff. Residual income, you'll learn more as we go. You're getting paid for years with every client. Tell you what, residual income, you're going to sleep a lot better at night, not having to worry about, do I have to sell something tomorrow to make bills next week? Unlimited income possibilities. There is no cap on this. Nobody's telling you the limit you can make. It's completely open, top end. And next, win-win. You know, when you're following a contingency model, no financial risk for the client. It's a win-win for the client, for you, for the entire organization as you partner with others in doing so. All right, I'm not going to read this slide completely. Important slide to understand what you get. So you're buying a franchise, you're purchasing this with significant dollars. It's not a small decision. What do you get for your money? Well, big list of things you get for your money on this screen. It comes down to the network. Yes, trusted global brand has a lot of value. Yes, the training is unparalleled. Before you launch, during launch, forever after launch, professional development is as good as you could ever expect. The tools, whether it be marketing, technology behind the scenes, the support structure, the fact that we're collecting revenue, all these are wonderful. They are absolutely not to be overlooked in the overall value of the opportunity, but when it comes down to it, the power of the network, the power of the franchisees you're able to partner with and share the overall growth of your business with and helping one another, that rising tide raises all ships is never more prevalent than in this business. So important screen. Might pause it here and study it and just go through it. Make sure you understand what I'm saying with each one of these bullets, but you get a lot for, frankly, a little when you look at the whole model. So availability, there's not a single market that is sold out, whether it be for a franchise or certainly for client acquisition. As you already heard, hardly anybody's really heard of us. Now, it's easy to quickly understand we're the global leader in what we do, but from a brand on the street, it's a good place to be. Lots and lots of opportunity. Next, this is not a slide of competitors. I'm not that bold as to say we're a household name like Deloitte and KPMG, but rather the global brand image that you're going to portray. This is a part of our organization that we take very seriously. Who we allow in, who we award a franchise is critical because you're representing my brand. You're representing other franchisees to the marketplace, and it's like that. The quality, the consistency, the status of what you see on the screen here today. Next, quick snapshot of some clients you might know of. These are not your typical client. Most clients, vast majority of ERA clients, you have not heard of. They're doing 40 million, they're doing 80 million, they're doing 150 million in annual revenue. On the screen here, we've got the more the household names, the Fortune 2000 type of organizations. They also find value in what we can bring to the table for them. So whether they're doing 5 million or 50 billion, we can come in and assist them in putting more money to their bottom line. So let's transition. Let's talk about what we do, what we focus on, how we bring value to that client. We call the Centers of Excellence. Quick snapshot of 8 different expense categories at a high level. We have practice groups within each of these categories. Our franchisees who focus on that analyst side, who are category specialists, each fall within one of these 8 practice groups or centers of excellence. Go a little deeper on this screen, you'll see exactly what that means. There's the 8 different centers of excellence practice groups and the categories of expenses that fall within them. So look on the screen, you're going to see approximately 44, I think it is, expense categories. Dare I say, every significant expense category that an organization has is covered on this screen. You're talking to middle market organizations, you'd be hard pressed to find any expense other than payroll, and even payroll services we analyze. We don't address their head count. We don't tell them who to hire and fire. We're looking at what are they buying, what are they spending money on, how can we optimize the entire process, not just the contract, not just a different supplier, the entire process to getting that product or those widgets or that service, whatever they're buying it better, smarter, faster, better timing, better volume, storage, terms, the whole package. We're the experts in finding it. And so on this screen, really this represents potentially 44 different income streams for you per client. We don't come to the client waving an iPad and saying, please let me save you money on logistics or on telecom. It's talking strategically about what the initiatives are they want to fund and how are they going to do that. How can we help them address that? So it's a much more strategic play, a peer eye-to-eye conversation with the C-suite, and we're have world-class experts that can address these categories and optimize them for the client. And yes, those world-class experts are franchisees. So remember, category specialists, analysts are franchisees. May not be you. You might be more the client acquisition focus, which is fantastic. You don't need any specialty, any expertise in any of these categories to do extremely well within your ERA practice. Okay. Quick snapshot of the client focus. Who are our clients? I love what Jack Squires, our executive director for the U.S. says. He calls it, we are industry agnostic. It couldn't be more clearly stated. Every industry, every organization, every company is spending money. They're buying things. We help them do it better. Whether they're doing 5 million or 50 billion as stated, that's the range. The next would be more the target market. We found that our target tends to be 20 million in annual revenue to 250. Now, does that mean a 10 million or a 1 billion can't benefit greatly? Absolutely not. We just find the target market is the sweetest in that 20 to 250, and let's bring it in even tighter. It gets even sweeter in the 30 to 90 million range. So 30 to 90 million in annual revenue tends to be most franchisees' sweet spot. And on the right side of the page, you can see those decision makers you're working with, the owners, the CFOs, the VPs of finance and operations, from corporations, nonprofits, government, associations. If it's an organization spending money, buying things, there's a place for ERA with them. Okay, so fast forward a little farther, your ideal work-life balance. What does that look like for you? We'll discuss that one-on-one together. I'll help you understand on a daily basis what you might be focusing on. Okay, go back to the 3 roles: client acquisition, category specialty, and managing projects and relationships. 1, 2, 3. So client acquisition, business development, might be speaking engagements, might be one-on-one coffees, might be direct marketing, an aggressive approach to being a trusted advisor to the C-suite, but getting out there and making it happen with clients. Okay, lots of paths to success on that. We'll go more in a moment. Next is client project management. You got the client. Who's going to manage the relationship once the client is acquired? Perhaps you. Perhaps you bring in another franchisee to do that. That middle role is not really a primary focus. It's a lot of franchisees do some of it, but maybe one in the whole country does nothing but that. Okay, so vast majority either focus on client acquisition or category specialty work and mix in the client management with it, typically flowing right from client acquisition to client management. Okay, hope I don't want to confuse you there. The fortunate thing is it's up to you. The practice is yours. The flexibility to, perhaps you've got some, like a gentleman I spoke with this morning, absolute rock star in logistics, knows it inside and out, had a transportation background second to none. But boy, he's got a great personality, great communicator, very well connected as well. So I mean, he just bonus after bonus with this guy. And so he's like, yeah, client acquisition makes sense. I can do that. I've overseen sales teams. I've had a little bit of exposure to the sales function. He knows project management real well. And when he gets a client that needs help in that transportation and logistics world, likely he will do that himself. In that case, 1, 2, 3, he's got the whole package right there in-house for him. And his revenue is significantly increased because of it. He's not partnering or having to share it with other franchisees. Now, majority of the time, he gets that client, and they have some need for the transportation logistics world, but guess what? They've got 18 other categories or 8 other expense categories that he is not that expert. And so he reaches out to the franchisee community with our help, with his coach and mentor's help, and identifies very quickly, takes no time, to identify the right expert to partner with. And they might look at the other 7 categories. One franchisee over here looks at print, grabs another one over here to look at utilities. Another one is brought in to do print or copiers. Whatever the different expenses are, brings in other franchisees on their own dime if they need to travel. It's their practice just like his. And he partners with them. So you can partner with others. You can do it yourself if you have the expertise to do so. A lot of flexibility to how you want to build your practice. Quick snapshot, I'm not going to read it, of the various activities that you might be performing daily in each of these roles. Okay, you can check those off where you're most comfortable, where you're willing to learn and grow. We will help you get there at a world-class level. Next, one more snapshot of a day in the life. So client acquisition, most folks I talk to are much more interested in that world. And so how do we get clients? I'm asked that hourly all day long. How do you get clients? Well, quick snapshot here. ERA has the exact same mindset I have. Let's customize what works to you. Okay? If you're a great speaker, you like engaging with large organizations, you're a good communicator at that level, let's put that in your marketing plan. Let's make that a really significant piece of your overall client acquisition strategy. We're going to give you the supplies, the training, the slides, the messaging, the complimentary general ledger assessment forms. We can provide you with everything there to help you optimize your speaking engagements. Perhaps that's not you. Maybe you're more into digital marketing or direct marketing. We can customize your client acquisition strategy to what you're best at and most comfortable at. We do quite a bit through referral generation, reaching out to your network and building those relationships at a deeper level, taking a selfless approach, introducing others, and it comes back to you. So lots of ways to success, but we customize that aggressively for what you are most comfortable with. Important slide here. Let's pause here. It looks like it got a little bit out of place on the left side, but regardless, what does it take to be successful? This slide gives you the 4 critical pieces. If any issue ever arises in your business, it's something on this page, okay? So on the left side of my screen, you got client acquirer. On the right side, you get category specialist. One of the 2 primary roles you're going to have. You can certainly do both, but likely you're going to focus, let's say, client acquisition. Well, if you're selling to the C-suite, you got to be able to relate to them. So you got to be a good communicator, have an executive presence, and relate well to the executives. Simple as that. I'll be able to identify that quickly as we talk. Okay, so don't worry about that. You know if you've got it or not, but I'll help you address it. The other 3 are more on you. So number 2, entrepreneurial discipline. Do you manage your time well? See, we've had some wonderful executives, extremely impressive resumes, come into ERA. The problem they encountered was in their entire life, they have never worked on their own. They've always reported to an office at 8. They had to leave at 6. They had folks reporting to them. They reported to someone else. Work was put on their desk. Accountability on an hour-by-hour basis. And so they were managed. You got to be able to manage yourself. You're going to be pulled out of that world. You own it. That can be good. That can be bad. It is up to you. Next, it's a coachability. I call it humility, frankly. Are you a know-it-all? Do you try to reinvent the wheel? Or can you follow a proven system that works? Well, guess what? Franchising is not for you if you are a know-it-all and you want to reinvent the wheel. And lastly, it's a ability to mental and financial. So it's kind of two pieces, mental and financial, to deal with the startup in any business. Unless you spend a ton of money buying an established cash flow, and you're going to pay a lot of multiples for that, if you're buying a new business, starting it from scratch with a proven model, of course, you're going to have a startup phase. And so although our investment is extremely low compared to most, there's a time frame when you're going to be paying your own bills out of your own savings, or perhaps a loan, or perhaps 401k rollover, various ways to fund it. But you need both mentally and financially to be able to handle a few months without any money coming into your bank account. Capiche? So those are the four keys. If there's ever an issue, it falls in one of those. Obviously, the category specialist side of things, you've got to very strongly have a background in an expense category in order to be an analyst. We're not creating those. We're giving you tools, methodologies, steps to get there, but we're not teaching you an expense category. Okay, quick snapshot of some franchisees. You can see every background on here: middle management, director, CEOs, founders, consultants. They all had a couple things in common. They wanted to own their own destiny here with the franchise, certainly. They had a business savvy and acumen, and they were willing to work within a proven network. I guess that's three things. But great folks, real franchisees on this screen. I heard a franchisee say this recently, a consultant, loved it. There is 0% chance of a negative ROI. How many CFOs want to hear those words? Negative percent chance, a 0% chance of a negative ROI. Beautiful. All right, what's our model? Fee structure is simple. It's a contingency model. You get half the savings that you find for the client for 2 years, and you share that with the franchisee you partnered with. It's as simple as that. 2-year, 50-50 split of the savings with the client. The fee model ongoing, 24 months I stated. You're normally getting half and then giving half to the other franchisee. So let's say client is spending $100,000 a month on whatever. Bring in an expert, they save them, you grab a percentage, don't imply anything into this, but let's say it's 20% we save them. It's $20,000 a month is easy math. You get half of that, $10,000 each month. And then you give half of yours to the other franchisee that found the savings. You found the client, they found the savings, you get half of the savings from the client, and you give half of that to the other franchisee. Very simple model, and that happens for months and years and perhaps even decades if you take good care of the client. The neat thing is, it's not one revenue stream per client typically, it's multiple streams of income over multiple years per client. So typical clients engaging us in 3 to 6 different cost-saving projects. Cash flow, getting paid, how fast can you get there? A very important question to understand. As you work through this model, you'll talk to other franchisees. Ask them those type of questions. How long till you got your first check? How much did you make in year 1, year 2, year 3? Those are important questions to understand and get a grasp around. If you look at the sales cycle, typically the first part is getting the client. That's a 2-call, 30-day close. It's a short, simple sales process, short contract, contingency model. So the front end of the pipeline is pretty short on average. 2 conversations in 30 days is typical. Then from there, you identify the franchisees. That happens pretty quick. Then they're diving deep. That could be 3 weeks, 3 months, but they're diving deep to find that savings, and then moving forward into implementation and collecting the revenues. So 4 months, 6 months, that's a typical 3 to 6 months of once the client's engaged, getting to a cash flow standpoint. It's a few months. So you need to be prepared for that. But the beautiful thing is, once the money starts coming in, take plenty of time off. It continues to come regardless of your own efforts. Okay, quick snapshot. You're never alone. The training, the conference, national, regional, local, one-on-one. Every franchisee has a coach and mentor that works one-on-one with them, sees clients with them, supports them every step of the way. And so you will never feel like you're out on an island with ERA. Quick snapshot of the various training stages, from onboarding and pre-training to foundation training here in Dallas or perhaps Kent, England, depending on timeline and what's best for you. Next is the just ongoing follow-up and support in the field, and then the role-specific training regarding your focus. Let's get you deeper and deeper and deeper in that focus. Internal certifications could be part of that. Continuing advanced training could be part of that. But just know we're a constantly improving and getting better organization. Quick snapshot of the franchisees involved in the process. A franchisor that's been around a while should absolutely have franchisees involved in leading guiding the organization and their priorities. We've got the Centers of Excellence I already talked about. Just had our Marketing Advisory Committee meeting last week, guiding how we invest the marketing dollars for the franchisees. And the Franchisee Advisory Council that helps overall organization to set the right priorities and focus on the right activities for the franchisees' better good. You know, when you've got the right opportunity, regardless of ERA, if you're looking at a franchise, you want one that makes sense for you, it's in the budget, territory is available, spouse is on board if that's a factor, family's on board, it's all making sense, and it comes down to a very, very important piece of the puzzle. Are the current franchisees happy? Because if they're not, nothing else matters. You want positive validations. Well, we brought on the Franchise Research Institute. They are the #1 researcher for franchisors. They do it confidentially, which makes all the difference in the world. And they speak with all franchisees in the system, or they attempt to speak with every franchisee in the system, confidentially completing surveys that address any issues, bring things to surface that if it wasn't confidential wouldn't likely surface. 3 years in a row we have achieved the World Class Franchise Award. There's none greater for a franchisor. It is the elite award for franchisors. And I'm very proud. I probably wouldn't be here were it not for this, because this tells me the franchisor cares. You're going to do what's right for the franchisee. Very, very high ratings. I've never seen any higher, frankly. We're very active in franchising, lots of roles. Just 2 weeks ago, we got awarded the Entrepreneur Franchise 500 Top Global Brand. So very impressive award. I'm very proud of that one. We're almost to where we're going to talk to franchisees. Just give me a few more minutes here, and we'll jump over to the franchisee conversations. How do we stack up against competition? I get asked that a lot. So there's a lot of words on this page, but this will give you a quick snapshot of a mom-and-pop local consultancy, the pros and cons, the regional or global brands, the household names in the middle, and then the ERA model on the right side. So you can kind of compare, you know, how each one handles a different topic or a different piece of the puzzle. Okay, there's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad necessarily, but you're able to understand our model kind of and position it compared to the local one or two people business to the bigger global businesses to how does ERA stack up? How do we focus? So pause it here because there's a lot to cover on that screen, and I can get this to you, by the way, if you're watching this live. One other screen of similar detail is GPO models. I'm asked often about a GPO because it seems we might compare to a group purchasing organization in some ways, and frankly we do. We've been hired by multiple GPOs to represent them. The GPO pulls a bunch of organizations together to increase their buying power and pricing, get pricing advantages. We don't have to do that. We represent billions anyway, so we don't pull any clients together in a contract. Every client is specific, unique, special. We treat them that way, while at the same time we bring that rockin' value that a GPO brings because we represent hundreds and thousands of organizations. And yet we also bring that world-class expertise that a GPO rarely has in each cost category. So you can see some pros and cons, some differences there on this screen. Next, important, how do we get all these referrals? I mentioned earlier we get over half our clients from referrals. Well, you're familiar with the Net Promoter Score. We have got a skyrocketing high Net Promoter Score. It basically means how likely are your clients to refer you to their friends. Well, we've got a nearly 8 out of 10. The average consulting firm has a 2 out of 10. So extremely high. And when you bring world-class experts and a contingency model together, along with a trusted advisor approach, those three pieces really are what took us to the top on the Net Promoter Score rankings. Wealth is not about having money; it's about having a lot of options. Love that quote. Okay, quick financial considerations. We'll jump over to the franchisees. Franchise fee in the U.S. is $59,900. Franchise fee in Canada is $66,000 Canadian, and then in Mexico and Central America is $49,900 U.S. Little difference there between those two, but as you can see, the royalty or the management service center fee, 15% in the U.S., 17% in Mexico, so that's a little 2% difference. Make up for it on the price. So royalty, look at what you get for the royalty and the amount of net you get to keep. It's that royalty may seem on the surface higher than most, and frankly it is compared to the multi-million-dollar brick and mortars. The difference is overhead and the support we give you. You'll be paying us a fraction of what you would pay a franchisor were you to have a large brick and mortar doing millions. So just do the math. I could talk to you more about putting it in perspective, but our royalty is, when in perspective, considerably lower than most. Next, the ad fund. This is a marketing co-op that all franchisees put together. It's mandatory, 3% of revenue, so it's not much, and that is invested very wisely to help you grow your business, help build that brand on your behalf. Red gets none of it, ERA gets none of it. It is y'all's money invested on behalf of you. And lastly, there's twice a year small software and internet advancement. We do award our veterans, so that's veterans vet friend discount. And I can help you and guide you with financing. If you have questions about how the best way to maybe fund this, what kind of entity to create, I can help give some guidance. Obviously, your accounting team would be better at that ultimately, but I can help with that. Especially the 401k rollover tax-free penalty free. A lot of folks don't realize how valuable that can be, that it's even an option. Quick glance at our item 19. The financial performance reputations are incredibly strong. The average franchisee, you can see, is making $189 gross. And think about net, not a lot of overhead in this business. So 189 we're very proud of, and that continues to grow year over year over year. 5 years in a row, it's increased by an average of 20,000, average over 5 years. So our average gross receipts per franchisee are quite strong. And you can see in the top 20%, there's 323 to 761, so impressive top end as well. Most of my candidates, if they're not making over 200, they're not interested. You can get there quickly, but it's not going to be real quickly. It's not going to be, year one, 200,000, anything like that. So it's going to take you some time, but fortunately, once you've built it up, that consistency of cash flow is quite significant, quite strong, quite reliable. Fun, talked about fun atmosphere. I won't go too deep. You've seen a lot of pictures. This is a fun rock video some franchisees did over in Valencia, Spain to welcome us to our conference in Europe last year. And it was just a great picture of the fun we had together. Also, franchisees sharing, caring, learning, growing, networking, and even partying. Here's a quick snapshot of our North American conference in Cabo last year. Lots of marketing tools, lots of strong operational processes. Won't bore you with all those details. Just rest assured, if there's a marketing piece, a marketing avenue you want to pursue, we have it, or we can create it for you. That's why we support you so aggressively to get you clients. More snapshots of marketing tools, every conceivable marketing avenue. Technologies behind the scenes are strong to support you with benchmarking, the IT, the intranet, the client acquisition technologies to understand who's in your market, who to go after, how we help you go after them, and really identifying decision makers. So technology behind the scenes you will not be disappointed in, and the support, the support, the support. Okay, I've gone too long as usual. Guys, love to introduce you to some franchise partners out there. So first, jump through this, there we go. Wes Thompson is going to join us. Wes, if you can make sure your microphone's on. I love working with Wes, best communicator I know, very clear in how he supports franchisees. He helps franchisees all over Michigan to build their business. Not only does he do that, but he's one of our most profitable, most successful franchisees in the nation. So Wes, if you would mind sharing for a few minutes about, back in the day, what attracted you to ERA, then what you've found since coming on board, maybe some advice you can give other folks considering the ERA model. So Wes, the floor is all yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being on the call today, and thanks, Red, for that kind introduction.
Speak up just a little bit.
Yes, everyone. Yeah, my background is primarily I started out at engineering and worked in the automotive industry for many, many years, and climbed the management ladder, as we all tried to do, and eventually ended up as president and CEO of a Tier 1 automotive supplier company. And also had the opportunity to spend several years working in mergers and acquisitions, and particularly as the automobile business went through its last downturn a few years back. One of the things that I saw with when I began looking for something else to do is that I was able to look at leveraging my background and what I've been doing for many years. Working in mergers and acquisitions, as you look at if you're buying a company or selling a company, the first thing you have to do in both cases is understand your cost structure and get it in control. And in our ERA business, that's an awful lot about what we're doing, is helping organizations to, first of all, analyze and understand their cost structure, and then take actions to either to get it into control. So for me, this was a natural extension of what I'd done in the past, and I was able to leverage an awful lot of what I had done previously into my ERA business. So today I work with, my client base is companies ranging from, on the small side, 20 million in revenue a year, and my largest client is over 600 million in revenue a year, saving millions of dollars for these folks. And having lived through the last automotive downturn, when we had to end up closing a lot of business and closing factories and all the disruption that entails, it's certainly a heck of a lot more fun working with people and saving them money and increasing their options and what they can do in their business, and it's a much more pleasant activity.
Wes, thank you for sharing, and if you can stick around for a few minutes, we're going to have some questions at the end. I've already got one question that's been posed to us. Before we jump onto the questions, though, I'll introduce another wonderful franchise partner, Linda Haskey. Linda has been with us for several years now. She is a top respected franchise partner and consultant. And Linda, we are so thankful that you were able to join us today. Can you share some of your background on what attracted you to ERA, and of course any advice you can provide?
Sure, I'm happy to do so. Good afternoon, everybody. I've been with ERA now. I'm on year 11. I can hardly believe the time has gone by so quickly. But before that, I had roughly 30 years of experience supporting manufacturing and operations folks, opportunities in several different companies. Les talked about downturn from automotive industry, where lots of times happen around manufacturing, with lots of sourcing and changes organizationally to moving things around, caused me to move around a lot as well. And I ended up doing some contract consulting work right before I joined ERA, and really liked the opportunity. So I always loved helping the companies I worked with save money. I worked in finance and supporting operations, and was always looking for ways to do that. But you know, if I saved them $100,000 or $1 million based on suggestions, that didn't change my salary so much. So what I liked about the ERA model was the whole idea of, I love the contingency model. I'm sure you've all worked with consultants and worked with companies that spent a lot of money on consultants, and you thought, what did they told me what I already knew, and they cost me a bunch of money. And what I like about this model is we really do, we save our clients money, and we get compensated based on what we save them. And one of the other things I really like about it as well is the variety. I've literally delivered hundreds of projects. I work nationally. I'm a category specialist. I largely work on payroll, HR, administrative costs, and work across the country. And so I've worked from every kind of company, large and small, different industries, etc. They all spend money on payroll and HR software, and that's what I help them save money on. So it's been a very rewarding. And especially one of the things that I didn't talk a lot about was a lot of folks that work in the client development, business development side, work with nonprofit organizations. So there's a kind of a side benefit of feeling like you're helping some organizations who are really trying to make a difference in a community. To the degree that you can help them save money, it becomes a very rewarding activity. And I guess finally, I would say as Red said, from a lifestyle perspective, this is, especially as a category specialist, I work every day, all day long, but I might not work for a couple hours in the afternoon if it's a nice day, and work after dinner. So the variability of how you want to spend your time and where you do it is really valuable to me. But that said, the advice I would give all of you is focus is important. So it is important to, I get teased by my family and friends about the fact that I say in the middle of the day I can't be throwing in a little laundry or doing other activities because I need to focus on my business, and sometimes I get to the weekend I still forget about doing that work. So anyway, but I really enjoy working on ERA with ERA and the colleagues around the country, and have found it to be a great way to kind of wind down my career at this stage of the game.
Well, thank you so much, Linda, and appreciate a few more minutes if you can answer questions at the end. And guys, gals, feel free to ask any questions on the right side of your screen. You can type those in. Next franchise partner is Steve Catron. Steve is very well known across the country. He has landed some of our biggest clients and is a wonderful mentor to a lot of great franchisees. Steve has also been with us for quite a while and is very savvy in building a strong and profitable and scalable business. Steve, can you share with us?
Thanks, Red. Happy to share a few thoughts. Just real quick, my personal background. I was a former president and chief operating officer of a utility. Spent most of my career, it's starting to change now that I've been with ERA approaching 14 years, but spent most of my career in utility. So I'm an example of someone, as Red just indicated, invest most of my time in strategic business development, but I have leveraged my energy background to deliver quality work for our clients and savings in the energy sector, as well as I'm a CPA by trade and invested a lot of time, energy, and effort to become a seasoned category specialist in the area of merchant processing fees. But most of my time is really in that strategic business development. As Red said, my client base ranges from 20 million annual revenue to multi-billion. Had very good success in one specific vertical that has large corporately and publicly owned companies. Just a little bit of information of where I was in December of 2003 when I invested in ERA. At that point in time, I don't think here in the U.S. we yet had signed our first client. I was 48 years old and quite honestly was at the prime of my corporate career. Had 4 daughters, 2 in college, 1 in private high school and 1 in private middle school. And I remember my wife asking me, Steve, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know I'm not going back to corporate America. With 4 daughters at their point in life, I wanted a balance and a flexible environment for me to achieve my personal goals, both financial, professional, and I think most importantly, focused on my family. I'm blessed today with 6 grandchildren and 7 on the way, and many of you all probably look for the why. Why do you do what you do? I do what I do because of my family. So my why is family, and ERA has provided me that opportunity. I knew I had consulted early in my career. I knew I wanted to consult again, and ERA really provided me that proven system and process that was going to minimize my startup time for my personal business. I think I call this the ultimate pay for performance because most of our clients do pay us on a contingency basis, and it is a very profitable way to conduct business rather than selling man hours. So in my nearly 14 years, I have not sold man hours. I don't track man hours. I look for that ultimate pay for performance that we get through our contingent model. My advice to all of you all, and I've talked to a lot of prospective folks over the years, 3 key questions for you. 1, do you want to be self-employed? If you're looking for a job, I don't think a franchise is the right place for you. Being self-employed takes a unique approach, discipline, and commitment to success. So that second question is, do you know what it takes to be successful, to be self-employed? If you know the answer to those first 2 questions, then find the opportunity, because there's many of them out there. Just like you, I was looking at buying businesses, I was looking at franchises, I was looking at all kinds of stuff. At the end of the day, I went with what I knew I was going to love. I love this business. This will be my last swan, and encourage you to find that business you're going to love. Thanks, Red.
Hey, Steve, thank you. We love working with you too, Steve. Hey, and we're also joined by a great individual, Jack Squires. Jack is our executive director for the U.S. Jack has been a franchisee. He's been a very top-performing coach and mentor for new franchisees, and he's helping new franchisees in strategic markets today to build and to grow and to launch very quickly. Jack, can you also share some advice? You know, you've got such a unique background, having been both a franchisee and supporting franchisees. Give us what maybe attracted you to ERA, as well as any advice you can share, please.
Red Jack hasn't joined us just yet. I think he's been caught up in a meeting.
Oh.
So maybe we'll just keep going forward, and hopefully he'll get to finish that meeting and jump on pretty soon.
No problem. Well, if he does, feel free to interrupt me, Jen. Thank you for letting me know about that. Because we've got a question across the side here. Let me jump over here. So Bjorn is asking, how is savings for a client determined? Now, I'll preface that as you guys get ready to help answer this. Lots of there's no bad questions. Feel free to ask me and ask other franchisees as you go through this process, any questions you might have. Keep in mind, sometimes you first got to know, is this a good fit? Is culturally a good fit? Do what we do and what you'd be doing each day the right mix for you? And then, you know, think about a McDonald's. Do you ask how do you put the mustard on first or the mayonnaise on first? Is it pickles before lettuce or lettuce before pickles? Some things obviously we're gonna teach you. We're gonna go deep. You're gonna understand the entire process. So knowing exactly how we do everything to a deep level, certainly you don't need to know. You don't want to waste your time learning that at this point until you know this is the right business. But at a high level, that is an important question. So how is savings for a client determined? How do we create that baseline spend, guys? I'll start with Linda. Linda, you are more category specialist focused. How is that savings determined?
Good question. So at a high level, as you said, Red, what happens is when we go through our process, we analyze how the client is currently spending their money. And so if it's a office supplies, for example, they might spend $50 for a case of paper. And we go back and look at history and say, this is what you pay, $50 for a case of paper. And if we are able to negotiate to get that case of paper for $45, we'll save you $5 for every case you get. And so we with the client, we establish what the current pricing structure is, we negotiate a better price, and then we estimate the savings from there to get to suppliers. And then from there, we actually, on an ongoing basis, bill a client based on what we actually save them. So how many cases of paper they actually buy, by the difference in price, calculate savings. So it is very transparent. There's not issues with it because at the beginning with the client, we establish what the current pricing is that they sign off on, and we go forward. Now, all these prices aren't as simple as establishing the prices as what's the price of a case of paper, but regardless of what the how the pricing is charged, we all agree with the client what the pricing structure is, and then we negotiate from there.
Excellent. Steve, Wes, anything to add to that?
I think the most important thing that we focus our business on is, regardless of the category, establishing that agreement with the client up front on how savings are going to be measured before we really advance, so that everything is done in an open and a transparent process. We pride ourselves on measuring actual measured savings, and that can be, as Linda just shared, that can be a very detailed item by item, SKU by SKU price comparison. The data intensity is what our category specialists invest a lot of their time in.
Just further on that, as Linda highlighted that we find savings by negotiation, often there are three general ways we find savings. The one Linda highlighted of negotiation being one, but we may negotiate with current suppliers, which we do the majority of the time and achieve savings, or we may change a business process as to how goods or services are acquired by the client that will generate savings, or we may change the suppliers altogether by resourcing and acquiring those goods and services from somebody else that will give more favorable pricing and terms to the client.
Thank you guys. I was especially impressed to know it's on a per SKU basis. So just because they're spending $100,000 on something this month or annually, and they spend $80,000 next year, doesn't mean we save them 20% necessarily. They might be buying more, they might be buying less. We might have saved them more, we might have saved them less. So it really comes down to a baseline SKU level audit of all the expenses in that category, and then properly, clearly communicating it, defining it at the beginning of the process, and then moving forward. There's no question as to what was indeed purchased, what was saved on a SKU level basis, and so it's a very clear process. I've really been impressed and frankly surprised at how rare it is to have an issue about the ultimate realized savings for our clients. Great question, Bjorn. Thank you for that. Another question, guys, I'll start it out, is territories. Understanding the territory model.
Red, yes. Sorry, let me just interrupt just quickly. We've got Jack Squires on at any point that you want to call upon Jack to have a chat.
Fantastic. Well, we'll do that right now then. Jack, thanks for joining. Sorry I called on you a little too early earlier. Can you share with us your experiences with the ERA and any advice you can give to the franchise candidates on the call?
Yeah, absolutely, Red. Thanks. I've been involved in ERA for over a decade now. I'm based in Seattle and been very fortunate to work with helping franchisees come into the organization and then providing coaching and mentoring and training for them once they're in the organization. There are as many paths to success in ERA as there are successful people in ERA. It's really the ideal situation for someone who wants to leverage an established business skill set and experience within the framework of a global consulting firm. So in other words, it's not the ideal franchise for someone who really wants a cookie cutter and just follow A, B, C and get to D. There's as many different ways to get to D as you can possibly imagine. If you look at our most successful people and some of the franchisees that have been on this webinar, if you really dove into their path to success in ERA, every single one of them is different. And every single one of them comes from a different background and skill set in business. And so that's what makes it so exciting. It's certainly not for everybody, but if you're someone like Steve Catron mentioned that is ready to be done with corporate America and all of the politics and bureaucracy and hidden agendas and things like that comes along with it, which was my case as well, and you're ready to just do what I call the most pure business you could ever be involved in, because all of that, all of the negativity, all of the things that I was tired of in corporate America and many of our franchisees were tired of in corporate America is stripped away, and all you're left with is everyone focused on the exact same goal, and that's maximizing the benefit for our clients, because that's how we all get paid. And when you get yourself into a situation like that, where it's that pure and everyone is rowing in the same direction and focused on the exact same goal, it becomes very fun and very rewarding. There's not too many opportunities for the folks in the C-suite, CEOs and CFOs, to be given a value proposition where there's really only two possible outcomes, and both are very positive. Either we find them significant savings and hopefully improve their process along the way, and our fee is 100% self-funded out of that, or we provide them a validation that they're doing as well as they could possibly be doing in that spend category, and that's free of charge. Those are the two possible outcomes for our clients. So the value proposition is very fun to discuss with prospective clients, and very fun to execute, as Steve mentioned as well, when you're actually working with them. So again, it's not a model for everyone. But if you can really take a look at this business and be excited about the value proposition and the model, and you have an applicable skill set and experience in business, this might be a very, very good fit for you. Red, back over to you.
Thank you, Jack. I'm jumping back on with the webcam. Got the jacket off now, guys, so now we're getting serious. Question about territories. I'll start it out, and anybody can chime in and give a little bit more guidance and input on territories. Really easy, three things to understand about ERA's territory model. It's not the traditional franchisor who defines one zip code or maybe a 2-mile radius from your home, perhaps. That's a typical model. Ours goes a step deeper and a much, I think, broader way of building your business. Number one, you can get clients anywhere on earth, and you can help clients save money anywhere on earth. So from that aspect, extremely open. Number two, you do have a defined marketing territory. Now that defined marketing territory is a large geography. It's not the one zip code, the 2-mile radius approach. It's a much bigger approach, oftentimes the size of an 8 or 2 or 3. In fact, I had a slide. Yeah, let's give you a quick snapshot here on this slide. It's a large area, and within that area there may be other franchisees, so just geography is not exclusive to only you, but take it to that third piece of the puzzle, and within that geography you can tag up to 50 potential clients. Let's put your name on, protect. They are exclusively yours. That's the exclusivity component. Exclusively yours to pursue until you've identified them as either a client, and you got them as a client, put your name on somebody else, or you've identified it's just not a good opportunity there. So again, take your name off, put it on someone else. Within the marketing territory, you can market your practice. Outside the territory, as I mentioned, you can get clients, but they're going to be either from referrals or through a previous relationship you already had. So you're not actively marketing your practice outside of your large territory. And there is no territory, as previously stated, in the country that's even remotely close to an optimum level of franchisees pursuing new clients. So very, very open across the country. Guys, anything else you'd share on the territory model?
Red, Steve, Catherine here. Just to let folks know, I reside in Kansas City. That franchise territory that Red was talking about is the states of Missouri and Kansas for me. I have clients in New York. I have clients in Phoenix. I have traveled to Canada pursuing clients, all through referrals. I would simply share with people that our business is a very open business model and one that relationships are easily leveraged. I would also share with folks, most people have their clients in a reasonable geographic proximity to where they're located, especially when they're in that smaller client range. You heard me say earlier, I've got clients as small as 20 million. Overhead increases when you start traveling for a $20 million client. Much easier when I'm traveling to New York for a multi-billion-dollar client.
Good point, Steve. Thank you. You know, on this screen, I'll hit attrition real quick. This is a question a lot of folks ask, and also anybody wants to chime in, feel free to share. Attrition is very important to understand in any franchise organization. We're extremely proud of our attrition numbers and retention of franchisees. We even have a clause in our franchise agreement that says you can leave anytime for any reason. It's a very small exit fee. Most franchisors would have you pay the next 8 years of minimum royalties or some large number. Ours is extremely franchisee friendly. So attrition, if you look at the last 15 years or the last 3 years within ERA in North America, our attrition numbers are rock bottom low. Retention is extremely strong. 4 and 5 years ago, we had a updating of the model and an improving of the support and the systems behind supporting franchisees and taking it to a whole new world-class level within the organization. In doing so, our new CEO met one-on-one with franchisees all over the country and really had a heart-to-heart. What can we do better? Are you happy? Are you profitable? Are you willing to follow the extra support that we're putting in place for you and take advantage of it? And guess what? Like most organizations, there was around 20% that just weren't happy, weren't following the systems. Perhaps really realized it wasn't the right fit for them. This is 4, 5, 6 years ago. So he helped them exit gracefully, 0 lawsuits. You know, in any business world, you can have litigation. We're extremely proud. If you see in our FDD, our litigation globally is also rock bottom. Everybody knows Subway. Subway's a wonderful franchise organization. Their litigation area of their franchise disclosure document is 1,400 pages. They're a wonderful organization, but you have litigation, you have to disclose it. Ours is extremely low, as is our attrition numbers, very low. By the way, in franchising as a whole, the U.S. average is 10.7% per year. It's still a very low number. I mean, most companies outside of franchising have extremely much higher attrition numbers than that. But in franchising as a whole, across the entire spectrum in the U.S., it's 10.7 annual attrition. Our numbers, both 15-year average, 3-year average, significantly less than that. And if we do have attrition, it's almost always someone retiring or selling their business or even occasionally passing away. So we're not losing folks from a poor model, and we vet you well, so we make sure that we got the right folks that can succeed and succeed quickly. Is any other thoughts on attrition, territories, those questions? Carly's asking about coaching and mentoring. So we've got some guys on the phone today that can help us understand that better. So whether it's Jack or Wes or Steve, you've all helped coach and mentor new franchisees to success. What are your thoughts? How can you explain to candidates on the call today what you do, how you support them, how you're sitting side by side with them, taking them to that next level?
Well, I'll take a stab at this one, Red. In the coaching and mentoring, first of all, we start off with a process where we offer support. Can be in working with meetings, in working in training, in working and helping folks improve their skills in delivery and discussion and negotiation with clients. But it's an offer. It's folks are free to take us up on that or not as they see fit, depending on how they feel. But what we do is try to provide some guidance to them and to help them get started. I, for myself, offer to, and so far it's been 100% accepted, is when someone new starts in the business, I go on all their sales calls with them. We set it up as that the new person coming in is the main presenter, and I go as a wingman. But if there's a question that my new friend may not be able to answer, that's where I step in. If there's an opportunity to offer a war story or some practical example from actual operation of the business, again, that's where I can step in and provide that support to help them as they again develop their skills, and secondly to help them be successful in gaining contracts with clients as soon as possible, so they can get their business off and running.
Thank you, Wes. Steve, Jack, anything more to share on that?
I think the important thing is that understanding coaching and mentoring. And coaching is about helping people become better and become more successful. And that is something that has to be wanted. And as Wes said, there are a number of things from sales meetings to even role-playing with sales conversations. But at the end of the day, this is something that is about your individual desires to get better, and are you willing to leverage resources that are made available in the network? They're there. We're here to help. And I invest a fair amount of my time in coaching and mentoring new people in the business.
There's a number of different ways that we support franchisees coming into the business. There's no lack of support for new folks coming out of training and pre-training and certainly in training. And then going forward, every franchisee utilizes me differently. I have a franchisee who I brought into the business 7 years ago, and I still have at least 1 or 2 conversations per week with that franchisee about his business, what he's doing. He bounces things off of me. We discuss all of his agreements with clients and the direction that they're going. And then I have other franchisees that use me considerably less after they've been in the business for a while and involve me if there's an issue coming up, or they've got a particular situation that they've never encountered before and they want to talk it through with me. So there really is a ton of support, as Steve mentioned, and it's really up to the franchisee to reach out and take advantage of that support, because there is no lack of it.
Guys, any other questions on anything related to this? Now, rest assured, you and I will have a good conversation. I'll be introducing you to your coach and mentor. They'll be introducing you to other franchisees. I'll come back and we'll go through the FTD and legal agreement. Then we'll be inviting you to Dallas for a Discovery Day. We have them periodically, and if there's not one that fits your agenda, we'll create one, a meet and greet for you, customized. We'd love for you to meet the support team, tour the support center, meet our CEO and executives, and just get a deeper level. We'll break bread, we'll have dinner, and we'll have some one-on-one time together as well. It's oftentimes not required, but certainly a bonus to be able to come in and get to know folks at a deeper level. On the screen, you can see some upcoming events, perhaps. If you see this too far in the future, your events might not be on there, but we've constantly got things happening around here, and these are just for franchise candidates. Every other day, there's something happening for franchisees with training and support and conference calls and webinars. My contact info is on this as well. A great way to reach me is, let's make sure we connect on LinkedIn. My calendar is always available to book anything you'd like, or heck, just call me up. I put the calendar out there to make it easier for everyone's time. I'm not some calendar Nazi where you have to book an appointment or you don't get to talk. Love to connect with you, get you clarity, and help you get to that next stage in your life where you're able to achieve a better work-life balance, better income, better flexibility, more fulfillment, and really make a difference in people's lives. If ERA sounds like the right fit for you and you'd like to know more, let's talk further. And we wish you the best regardless. Have a blessed rest of your week.